Good morning, everybody. I'm sure you're probably like, wow, and in 2 days in a row. But as I said, as things start to roll out, as news starts to come out about all these important things we've been waiting a long time for, you will probably be hearing from me and Tracy more and more often. It'll probably be unscheduled times where we just jump on and start to talk about the things that are very important to our public. And one of those things right now we're going to discuss is the Epstein lists. I say lists, plural, because 2 mornings in a row, Chana. Welcome, hon. On the way to work. Well, I hope that on the way to work you can hear some interesting things, because it seems that the Department of Justice has released, and I will be leaving that in the chat for you to look over. Really not much to look over, though. Is a redacted phone book, and it's really not even a book. It's actually maybe a couple pages, and a few of the flight logs, not all flight logs, but a few. And of course, floating out there on Twitter, X, and Telegram and whatnot, you have unredacted versions. You could tell that they're the same. They look the same, but although Photoshop is something that people use, you never know. But if it's coming from the Department of Justice, I think that we can believe what's out there. Here's the thing. A phone book and a flight log is not what we're looking for. We're looking for a client list. See, I think that what the Department of Justice is doing is they're putting out what they can to keep the public quiet, because they are saying, where are these lists? We waited for Kash Patel to get in. We expected to see some sort of exposure of the wicked. Why are you covering up for them? Why would you cover up for them? We know what went on that island. Where's the information? I think the issue here that they're facing, which Pam Bondi as well as the AG, or former AG, no, or she is the AG, is there is still a Supreme Court case open with Ghislaine Maxwell. And so, and this is not a good excuse. I'm just saying this is the legal reasoning behind us not getting what we're looking for, which is that client list. Why is that client list so important? Well, people, there might be Congress women and men, maybe even people in the Senate on both sides of the aisle that are on that list. And the activities that happen on that list are heinous, and that's being generous. That's being kind. We're talking about all kinds of abuse that happened on that island of minors. And it went on for decades. It went on for a long time. This is how Jeffrey Epstein became such a wealthy man, through blackmail. For example, there's a picture, and it's gone public. Outlets, news outlets, mainstream news outlets have put out this painting of Bill Clinton in a blue dress with red shoes on Epstein's wall when they raided his home, and they found this painting of Bill Clinton. Now, why was that painting there? What was that all about? Was that for funsies? No. The Red Shoe Club is something that most people who are on the inside have been, the truthers are well aware of what that means. And that has a lot to do with the sanguine addiction that a lot of these people have. Sanguine people means blood. And so consumption of it, spilling of it, it's part of the blackmail that he has done to many of these high profile people. I'll give you another one. There's, I think, a photo or something of Bush, George Bush, the son, sitting down on the floor in front of his desk, holding a paper airplane and looking like he has knocked over two, Jenga buildings as, to make it look like, a pseudo 9/11. And so again, blackmail. That was Epstein's way of doing business. And these people would line his pockets and he would keep them protected. And so it's already been looked at. It's already been exposed, in the truther community, which is an echo chamber still at this point, of the activities that happened and really, really bad abuse that has happened on that island. Celebrities, politicians, CEOs of all kinds. And now they're sweating now because they're like, you're going to put this out in the public. We're never going to be able to walk down the street again. You shouldn't be able to walk down the street again. You should be in Gitmo. You should be hung. You should go through a tribunal. That's my opinion. But okay, here we are. So I want to put this out there. I see now the DOJ is putting stuff out, and I think it's to shut the public up. But we're not going to stand for that. I'm sorry. I understand and respect the law, and I understand if there's a Supreme Court case going on for Ghislaine Maxwell. I understand that there's evidence that has to be protected for her case. But as far as I'm concerned, the hammer's already fallen for Ghislaine. She's already been found guilty. Okay, there shouldn't be any Supreme Court wasting of the taxpayer money to retry this woman again. She's been tried. She's been done. She's been sent away. Enough already. I hope that she's paying for this because we shouldn't be. Okay, these are our children who are their targets. Their chess pieces that they played with. They've been playing with our lives long enough. And so put it out there. Who's the clients? Where's that client list? DOJ, Pam Bondi. Remember, it is the people who voted you in, who put you in that position. We're expecting transparency. That's what we're expecting. We want to see it. We don't want to be played with. We don't want to have any smoke blown up our rear ends. We've had enough of that. Now we are demanding to see the exposed client list. A flight log means nothing. Let me tell you why the flight log is an issue. So at his admittance, President Trump has already said years and years ago, over 25 years ago, he had asked Epstein, at the time when he was still talking to him. Remember, there was a time where President Trump cut this man off. He was a neighbor. Epstein was a neighbor of President Trump. And when President Trump found out what his activities were, he kicked him off of his property, said wanted nothing to do with him. But beforehand, he had asked him if he could use a flight going from New York, if I'm not mistaken, it was the Newark airport, to Palm Beach. That's it. And of course, naturally, there's going to be whoever was with President Trump at the time, his ex-wife, his child, his nanny, is going to be on that list. You're going to have other innocent people who've probably flown those planes domestically. Has nothing to do with the client list, has nothing to do with the activities on the island. So what are you putting out there? You're putting out there nothing. You're putting out there information that's already been out within the truther community, unredacted, may I add, okay, but proves nothing. So we want the client list. And that's what we're expecting is the client list. Now, and why are you being so harsh about these clients? Well, why do we need to know this? I'll tell you why. Because a lot of these people have been singing in our ears as musicians. We've bought their records, their CDs, their albums, whatever you want to call it. We have financed their careers, movies, television shows, cable channels, you name it. We have been the ones who have lined their pockets with our money, trusting them to entertain us, our children, our grandchildren. We thought nothing of that, right? Because we liked them. We liked the characters that they were. For example, Tom Hanks. I love Tom Hanks. I loved every movie that he did. And come to find, he was, you know, a dealer of things that he shouldn't have been dealing. Okay, that hasn't come out yet to the public. That should come out into the public, but it hasn't. Why hasn't it? Because we're still protecting these people. They shouldn't have protection. Who protected their victims? Nobody. Nobody. God says that we're not supposed to have anything to do with these activities, but yet to expose them. We voted in the very people who are in Washington right now. Why? To push the agenda of Almighty God. Almighty God wants truth. And so that, and with truth, that means that you've got to expose the people who've done these evil, wicked things to our children, to our minors, to us. They've taken advantage of us. You know, they deceived us. And we believe them. We trusted them. Okay, how many companies, CEOs that we've bought their products and had no idea what they were doing, you know, in their private time. It wasn't like they were home enjoying their families. They were doing some really disgusting and vile, vicious things to children. And so this truth has to come out. This is the time, this is the season for this truth to come out. And if any of the people that have been voted in, that we've believed in, that we supported to get in there, okay, in any way tries to use legal jargon and reasoning to protect them, well, shame on you. Shame on you. Find a way out of that, because the public deserves to know. We're the ones who supported them. Okay, the one with the gold rules, we're the ones with the gold. We have been financially supporting all this, and we deserve an absolute true answer. So my question is, where is that client list? Put that out, and put that out now. Okay, so real quick, I want to talk about Doge and the wonderful job that they're doing. And I think I'm going to touch on this more with Tracy, but I just want to put out there a starter. Something for you to have food for thought, okay? So Doge is doing some excellent work, I think, that's my opinion, on, you know, finding all these different ways that our money has been wasted throughout all these different agencies, right? And I don't think they're done. If you're part of that, you should be shaking in your boots. They're coming for you. And that's going to come back to the American public, the taxpayer especially, and they deserve it. With that, there's going to be, and I've said this before, some newfound wealth, okay? Money that we've never had before, access to things we've never had before, opportunities we've never had before. And with that comes new responsibilities, and sometimes even new problems arise. Now, I don't know. I think with every person individually, it's going to be different, you know, because you've got taxpayers out there who've paid more than the guy next door, for example. And so with this newfound wealth, we have to learn wisdom. God wants us to use wisdom with everything that we do. And so there's an article that I had done years ago, and it was really towards the, and I shared it here. It's actually a short on YouTube about, and it was advice from, you know, financial advisors from Forbes and from, you know, places like JP Morgan, where how would you handle a windfall, whether it be an inheritance or whether it be, you know, let's say you won the lottery. Or let's say something like this comes along. You know, you may be saying, well, they're only reporting $5,000. That's just the beginning, people. Think about how much tax money you've paid out. Okay? A lot of that is going to be coming your way. And as they keep finding more and more money, more and more is going to come back to the American taxpayer. With that, it's going to go into the economy, which is going to lower the prices. So that's going to give you even more money in your pocket. You're not going to be spending $400 on groceries when they're really only worth $150. Okay, this is my point. You know, so prices are going to start going down on homes, on energy, on gas, on all of it. And so with that, you're going to have more money in your pocket. Now, the problem is most people, they just burn right through it. Why? Because they've Think about back when you were in high school, and if anybody that's near my age and you're in your 50s, even in your 40s maybe, you remember in high school, you had home ec. They taught you how to make a pie. They didn't teach you how to be able to afford the ingredients for the pie. It made no sense. So you really don't learn early on how to budget your money properly. And we go through life having to wrestle with and struggle with um, a system that's really built against us from the very beginning. And that credit score, if you don't keep it at a certain, pace, if you don't keep it at a certain, number, you really pay for it. You're denied, no matter where you go and what you do. And if you get a loan at a certain number, a certain credit score, you may be paying high interest rates. So one way or another, you're going to get screwed. And you kind of go, how did I get to this point? I remember thinking that in my 30s, and I had a credit score within the 600s, and I didn't know how to fix it. And if you want to fix it, you got to spend money to fix it. It's like a catch-22. That system, by the way, is being destroyed. And with the destruction of that system and us being paid back and restored what's been stolen from us, prices going down, you combine all these things, there is going to be more money in your pockets. But you don't want to be the one who gets all this money and then blows it, and everybody else is doing well, and you're sitting there going, now what? Now where do I go? I blew the very money. This has happened to lottery winners, where they had no idea how to handle the money. They'd go win $5 million and spend $4 million on a house, not taking into consideration what it's going to cost to maintain that home. They were just looking at winning the prize. And so it does take a lot to learn how to maintain. Well, let me just give you a couple of steps real quick when that does happen for you to keep in mind. And like I said, we'll go over it at a later date. First thing is, don't spend right away. Don't spend right away. There's nothing wrong with sitting down with a notebook, sitting down with your significant other, and going over what really is it that you need to spend your money on. Can you wait a little bit? Can you just put it in the savings and sit and figure out? Because, by the way, and this was something Tracy and I were going to touch on, there is a subject of Nisara Jasara. Now, I know some of you are going to go, oh, God, Ann, you don't really believe in that. Well, I hate to burst your bubble. That's what's happening right now. Now, Nisara is something that's been trying to be pushed into law since, I think, like 1999, 2000. And Jasara just has something to do with debt cancellation and paying back the people. Well, that's what's happening right now. Hello, that's what Doge is. They're not just collecting the money and cleaning up the waste. They're looking to restore this back to the American public. It's set all over mainstream. So it's actually happening right before our eyes. Now, with that, like I said, there's some things that we have to take into consideration, and that those things are, like I said, you have to make some plans. Plan. Sit down and imagine. It may take a few months for you to really think. You're like, $5,000, I can go through that in 10 minutes. That's the problem. Well, what about my debts? Well, that's what I'm trying to say to you. That's part of the Nisara Jasara. Don't give. If you owe $1,000 to your credit card, don't pay $1,000 to your credit card. Make that monthly payment if you have to, but I wouldn't waste all that money, because if in the following weeks, all of a sudden it's wiped out, you just wasted your money by giving it over to the credit card company. So this is why I'm saying, don't spend that money as soon as you get it. Plan out. For example, one of the first things that we're going to do here in this household is, and we've talked about it over and over, is part of a plan that we've gone over. We've done drills on what would happen if this amount of money and that amount of money came into the household. What would we do? And that's not a bad idea. Run a drill. Go through it. If you're by yourself, run a drill by yourself. If you got a significant other, run it with them. If you got kids, think about that. Just do a drill. And so in our drill, we found that with my husband, we would like to get him his citizenship here in the U.S. He is a legal immigrant, and that card that they get, that green card, is good for, at least his green card is good for 10 years. It's up in 2027. Now, of course, naturally, he'd get another 10 years, but he would like to be a citizen of the U.S. So that's about $735 on top of the $2,200 that it costs for him to immigrate here in the first place. But that's a conversation for another day. And so that's what we're going to do. That's the only thing that's on the plan. Everything else, the money's going to go into a savings, and it's going to sit there. We're looking into investing in. A lot of people are running towards gold. See, that's another thing. I'm not going to go towards everything that everybody else is running to, because then that means everybody's going to own it. I'm looking into silver. I'm looking into copper. Okay, silver is already being used in the medical community, the alternative medical community, for colds. I have a feeling that the pharmaceutical companies are finally going to catch up and start using it for colds and viruses. And so if you own a chunk of silver, you're going to, make some money on that. You're going to get profit off of that decision. Copper is also used. I know that in the New York City, for example, I can give you an example, very high-end, penthouses and buildings where there's like $1 million condos, their plumbing is copper, and plumbers in New York, forget about it. They're like near Donald Trump, income. So it costs a lot of money. It's worth it. So this is what I'm talking about. Do your homework before you spend your money. Do your homework. Be wise and think about what will benefit my family, what will be good for my future. Okay, we're also going to talk about the futures of 401ks. There might not be much of a future for 401k. So we will get into that another day, but I'm just laying that out there for you in hopes that maybe you will go out and look into these things, use critical thinking, and do your homework, and look into the resources that you can trust. I wouldn't look at Facebook, for example. I wouldn't go and look on Google. I would go look, Twitter might be a safe place where you can find Elon Musk. Go look at the people who've succeeded, and talk to them, see what they have to say, or the people that are affiliated with them. There's Beverly Hills Precious Metals. That's a company that throughout the truther community is very trusted. Andrew, I think his name is Scorchini, is the one who runs that place. I've talked to him myself, and they're very good. They will talk to you. They will give you advice for free. They will not charge you for it, in hopes that you become a client. And so there you go. It's not a rant, but I did want to bring up and get ahead of, because I noticed last night that the DOJ had put out this information on their version of what we think the Epstein list is. No, we're looking for the client list. We want the client list. We want to know who is going to the island. I don't care who was on the plane. I don't care who was in his phone book. I want to know who was on that island. And I'm sure you do too. And so what I'll do is I will leave that link for you to find. You can look at the information that the DOJ put out if you're interested. I don't know why you would be, but okay. You never know. And you know what I suggest? If you're not already on Twitter, if you're not using X, please go use it. This is where all of the truth is. The information is there. Thank you, Elon Musk, for putting that truth out for us, for giving us the availability to find that stuff, because for the longest time, it was very difficult to find. Maybe on Rumble, maybe on Telegram, maybe on BitChute, you were able to find it. But now, today, we know we can go to Twitter, X, and find this information, or at least people that would know where to find this information. Anyhow, thank you for joining me this morning, and I hope that this was chock full of information. I will be seeing you guys soon. I am sure. God only knows what's going to happen in the next 24 hours. Tracy Davis does want to see you guys, does want to do a live soon. So who knows? We may be back this afternoon. If not, we will see you soon. And until we do, you know how it goes. God bless.